Hi, this is Dan Jurgens, and if you want to have a good time, keep listening to the Krypton Report.
It's a bird. It's a plane.
This is Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action. This is Mark Wade, writer of Superman Birthright, and you're listening to The
Krypton Report, the All Things Kryptonian podcast, including Superman and Supergirl.
We discuss games, movies, cartoons, TV shows, and comics.
Find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. Welcome to the Krypton Report. This time, my super sidekick, but part prime here, Mr. James Cole. Welcome to Man of Steel itself. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm good. Nice day before I gotta go to work all night long. It'll be fun.
Oh yeah, we love our cold weather. We decided we're going to tackle what, a lot of people have a very high esteem of a book. And it's been a book that we've been talking about for a while. And we've been trying to work in more comics and doing more like iconic comic storylines, well, current stuff. I thought we'd go ahead and we'd start. We're going to talk All-Star. We're going to do the book, then we'll get it looking at the film. We want to do this for a while. And just that time, a lot of things changed recently, just schedule, shows, whatever. So, yeah, we've been trying to do this for like a week, but man, between work and life and everything, it's been tough trying to get together.
Yeah, work and weather and family. Yep.
Snow, man.
Especially when part of your job is snow removal. Just disgusted. I love the snow. I think it's beautiful. I like snow. I like snowy weather. I like, field and trees covered in snow and houses and things. I think snow is beautiful. I like it. I'm not even bothered by the cold because I dress in layers. I've lived here my whole life. You know how to deal with it properly. But when part of your job is snow removal and you have to spend hours and hours on tractors and salting and things like that, it becomes a big chore.
Yeah.
It loses a little beauty.
What happens? Van, good old man. Thanks a lot. Hey, here. Let's have some fun. All right. So, All-Stars. I did not read this when it first came out. I bought it in great. First time I read it was, I think it was back when 20. Sounds about right. I got it. Yeah, that's about right. Kind of thinking back. Yeah. What about you? First time you read?
I read it after probably in 2011. I can't remember exactly when, around that time, but it was after the film had come out. I had heard of All-Star Superman, but I had never read it up to that point. And the film had come out, and what they did was, it was pretty enjoyable, but you could definitely tell there was something missing. It felt streamlined, and I heard it was a great story. 12 issues of the Silver Age brought into modern comics. And just, yeah, it was, people love it. I mean, it was raved about. So after the movie came out, I got the book. I bought the book and I read it. I rarely revisit the movie anymore. I revisit the book more often than I do.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to revisiting the movie once we finish with the book, though. because it's been a while since I watched All Star Superman.
Same. But I don't know. One that I just couldn't think crap. Last watch, I usually watch a lot of pretty regular. Yeah. Where we're gonna issue one, so that we're not trying to tackle book one. We're not trying to short. We're gonna do it. All right, are we ready?
Yes, sir.
First thing I want is Brent is a brilliant writer. Sometimes I think aren't tuned in. And then art is by Frank. Right? Is that how you know? I don't know.
Quietly. Yeah.
And I love that's first. Is I love.
Yeah, Frank Quietly and Jamie Grant. They
Art.
absolutely killed it.
It very. There's a soft. It's kind of in the same family, but of like kind. There's old style. I say do it that I.
Oh, it's very bright. It's very colorful. Very detailed.
Yeah.
Incredibly classic.
Very flat. That's so the first page, just before pen, word says kindly up. Simple, but yet turn the page red. And then get into this. We have the astronaut approach on. Don't even see one of the astronauts. First that was here. Red. Not. Woman. Borneo. Red. And my close. I mean, it grabbed you getting there. Page at 10. Below it. Lombard.
Mm-hmm.
We get like just Luther live. And it's very like, hey, what's going on? Like, what, we're establishing almost a new world, very of what's going on. How are you so far? I mean, we're like 3 pages in.
So, I mean, I'd actually just listened to yesterday. I just listened to the first 2 parts of the guy who wrote Man of Tomorrow, Superman movie, and on the Voices of Krypton, and he talked about how everybody knows the story of Krypton's destruction, the Kents, and that Lex Luthor is a bad guy. And basically that's how they entered the world, you know? Like, they didn't call it an origin story, just a early days story. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of, I mean, that you, in this book, that's it. You're dropped fully into this world with a lot of preconceived notions. You know who these characters are, and they just ride that wave. Mm-hmm.
And I think we can get away with it. You know? It's easy to do. And, you know, we're just kind of grasping. We have the basic knowledge of who they are. Then the next page, we're in the room doing stuff. We're trying to figure out what he's doing. Have a military. He says, I'm going time my, and then he's Luthor be promised I wouldn't but and then we see that picture on board the face there's that controlling remote. It's kind of cut between the space station, Ray Brad, on he makes very statement that I'm getting older.
Yeah, talking about the wrinkles around his eyes.
We see Superman, and we see him fight things like that. So we see the Ray Bradbury's spherical ship, and then Superman takes it out and going basically pushing it into the sun. And then the next page, very interesting. Upon first read, that we kind of figure out here later, all of a sudden whereas Superman is shielding us by extending his own bioelectric field. Seems possible. Basically, we see Superman with like energy from him around the sphere and flying. I mean, this is an intense first issue, right? Like, there's very little setup, all set up in the act itself.
Yeah.
And then we have this new Doctor. What's his name?
Doctor. Thought it was Doctor Quinn.
Maybe that's.
Doctor Quintum.
Maybe that's.
It's been a while since I heard it.
And sometimes the prep. I'll read it. And he's talking to Superman. He says, "You are now against the equivalent of 100 quintillion." I don't even know if that's really a thing. Sure.
Quintillion tons?
Yeah.
I mean, what do we got? We got trillion, whatever 4 is. I mean,
this
I don't
is
know.
6.
That is an incredibly crazy amount of weight.
It says your strength has tripled. And that's good. And he says, Superman, I'm not sure how to tell you this. Great trip to the sun exposed critical levels of stellar radiation or rock cell possible. And then basically, I see it fire. He says, this explains bio, but a bizarre iron source power find kill it. So once again, like you and I talked about before, this is held at such a high scope, but in another way, another death. Now it's approach different position.
Yeah, he resigns himself to his inevitable death and wants to prepare the world and the universe for his absence. Things that he's always assumed he'd have time to do. He has a lot he wants to take care of in his time. And with the things with the things that Superman's able to do, especially this, in a sense, like Silver Age Superman, where his powers are seemingly limitless.
Yeah.
And then they're tripled. I mean, like he has the things that he has always wanted to do are pretty extreme. Which we actually won't get into too many of those in the first 4 issues. Those actually come later in the book.
And it's just interesting. Hey, we'll tell our death to, but we'll do it a little. You know what? That's cool. Like, oh, how else? Oh, I don't want to say a more real world way of like him slowly dying, almost the way we would. Like if we are, but so we keep going. And Superman, he's walking around, talking, there, super full. Right, we're building outposts to inspire all of them. And I promise, save. And Superman basically says, no one must not do things I have. And then we have Harry shouting, Clark Kent isn't. Clark Kent fired 5. See a kid running in front of a dog. It's really awesome. Done. That next panel, Harry 2, 3. We see Clark hold the press, running grip. Lombard, coffee, falls into Perry, cut back. We see the kid itself. And I also like Clark number 2. I just feel like it's what dog really Superman wearing a blue suit, red tie, right?
Right.
Kind of like a
yeah. Yeah, the brown, the earth tones, Kansas farm boy kind of look that he'd probably wear.
Yeah, looks like got a car. Have black being a red. Please thank God for my own good, but put me away, or I really do. Then we have it says epilogue, Lois and Clark. Clark and Lois walking up. And we see Clark holding groceries, or looks like groceries, book, and he bumps into this guy and knocks him over. He's like, oops, mister. And the guy's yelling, Plum's getting. But you see that Clark cost something,
Yeah, it looks like something came off the train. This is one thing I will say right now, is in the movie they show the cracked bridge or something with the train going over it, and you see part of it's gonna fall, and so they telegraph it in that better. In this, you can't see anything that's going to fall. I mean, well, actually, I guess you do see that kind of hanging down, but there's no evidence it's going to fall.
Right.
The only thing is Clark knows.
And I like how he saves. His plum's idiot. Your boyfriend's idiot. How dare you? It's not my idiot. Lois, Clark, I think. And then the bottom, we see the guy. He's yelling, and then Clark says, "I don't know where my got." Lois says, "Alone and television, all stuff, Clark." And then he's like, "Lois, I'll tell you." And please stop talking. I have if you really look hard, top, his hair is kind of one way, come down. Superman, you come down, hard, almost popped out with a curl, and straight, pulls dirt, last, lowest, on. Which I think which I really like, the fact that they're outside her apartment, not inside her apartment.
Right.
So I think that's kind of fun. But that's it. And it's cool. It's a great setup. I mean, I like it a lot because I feel like it's a standing class. Lois Clark, great class. Harry, Lex, up. And then we get to episode 2. I like how they call them episodes. That's how it is in my grade here.
Yeah, that's how it is in mine.
I think I have a newer version of the grade because it's got a little bit different cover of him flying cover, and it's got the logo.
The page flipping DC logo?
No, it's the circle and just says.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I didn't buy this for because I have a thing a lot of times grade. I try. I like buying them second. My All-Star Superman, I put it for I bought for because I just feel I don't know. There's a cool feel. I don't know. It's just so I don't buy a lot new. And I was like, well, I really want to. It was that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Issue 1 or episode 1 is very good. Like you said, setup. It gives you the setup for the story, the through line for the story, and who the focus is going to be on in the last issue.
Yep. So the next called Superman, and it starts with Lois sitting in her car. Clark, you've always been Clark Kent. I just don't believe it. He's flying her car to the fort. He says, "Okay, I'll go along. Has to be a devastating country." Says, "Where's the big gold key?" Find out got a new key. It's small, sitting there into the portrait, and heavy and worth material that weighs half a ton. I'm the only person on Earth. So, yes, in this, for 24, where we are. Lois makes the question. So, he's asking questions about times that Clark and together. He said, That time it was Batman. And there's been Robot. She said, "How is that?" "Great." Rob is a great kid. I've always wondered if I could. Which I think, a storyline really, that was one thing I liked about when they did Superman. And with, as John Kent, is like Superman kind of having it was fun because, he worked more alone than even Batman. We said before, like, Batman's always past the big owner, but yet he got all the parts.
Yeah. And most of the threats Superman deals with, he's the only one, or he's one of the few powerful enough to go against it.
We're getting to see the fortress. He's talking about being somewhere quiet, got robots in it, or any got lifestyle chessboard, that which is interesting. One thing that we haven't pointed out though is his suit. It has the trunk, but they're more like short, big. They're not. They remind me more of like the New Front style, where they don't look more like look more.
Yeah.
That's kind of when they did. Kind of how it reminded me when print.
Right.
It was worth more. So Lois is kind of keeping a journal. Her shower, paint, her flowers, sorry. And walk through and he's talking about shows our kryptonite ray. Talk about time images I was able to contact and list aid help express before the occurred. So this is something. This is Cal Kent, Man of Tomorrow, Superman of the Year, 85,000. Cal doesn't kind of feel like Cal. I just feel like
Right. Well, I mean, they do all kinds of different combinations. John, Kent, Connor, Kal-El. I mean, yeah. You would think something like that.
well,
Yeah. Well, it's like 83,000 years in the future too. That's quite a long time.
oh yeah, I thought that. No, whatever. Grant Morrison, right?
Right. He has successors in the future, that far into the future. I mean, the Legion is in the 31st century, like they're 1,000 years ahead. This is way beyond them.
Yeah. A little too far, Mike, but it's come. And then we find out he has the map room, little Sunny down here. She's like, what else? Sun. Sun's like right here on the hospital. And then we spoke. Peek inside the room, like photos of her, skeleton, myth, and he's go anywhere for limit. Come with the then we get him. Oh, this was. They're basically eating on the next part.
Right.
And we see him basically wearing a cape hood. we don't get a good shot of it, but he addressed that and I made it myself. It's worth it. Make it go so. And I like this. This is very important. My trip to the sun more than triple my tip. And it says on. Bear me spent Hindu Clark me impaired top salt and pepper. You're still not believe Clark says, I don't swear because you were Clark and around. Whatever. If it was all around, that would have mean wouldn't. But why all? It's interesting because they do the point of kind of got her like almost in a black and white.
Yeah. I always wondered if that just signified something of, the way she takes her turn the next couple pages.
I think it's, because, that's what I was, we go back to her. Superman's looking in the mirror at Lois typing in her. He's talking basically to himself like how I wanted time together. What's interesting is looking in this and has his glasses on. Does and says, how can I spoil her birthday with him? Then drops the glass in the mirror because there's a crack. And then Lois Lois is like getting care about I have to protect myself. But goes talk and other men handed to talk robots try to come get her ray gun running Superman or there. He comes walking out, hits him straight. Like, oh my God, what have I done? He said, interesting way to discover mind if I take and I think that's awesome. Like, I like that for now. Do you think the paranoid was kind of it starts?
Well, they give a nice explanation as to why. Robot 7 had a data processing problem, it seems. He left the door open while I was synthesizing some alien chemicals. They can cause visual distortions and extreme paranoid reactions.
Yep, so it makes sense. This feels, they walk back into that room, and Superman says, happy birthday, pulls out this is probably our best shot so far, man. Trunk. And that's so. And it's cool.
And this Superman has a short cape. It's only mid-thigh.
Yeah, it's probably the shortest. I haven't really discussed it in comics, but we did our episode about us. I think, this is the shortest ever. And so, episode 3 continued. Her opening her breath, picked up right, and it's Malik. He made her DNA. Going to give her powers. My power in liquid. Hold, bring it on.
She's ready.
And now this is okay. So I'm going to say right now,
I would be too.
This issue, and I'll get into it more. But what I don't like, first of all, is Lois has Superman powers we don't really ever see with power. Because when we turn the page, we see a giant lizard attack. We have Pat Grant, Lombard, Jimmy on top of the Daily Planet. Down here comes Item Look. And said I would have felt it had not on. Show me how you do. And then does someone do it? And frankly, this right here, like the whole Samson thing.
Samson and Atlas.
I can do with that. Like I find this like supposed to be like a great past heroes, time travel. Their stories are not really much with art. And I just don't want it. You know, they both show up, fight the monster that has killed the Earth. They're kind of flirting with Lois. And Samson threw the lizard out into space. Superman had to bring it down back to the middle of the Earth. And they go down, Lois experiences the middle of the Earth. And, you know, trying to find Lois. You know, Superman doing what he does. You know, he's talking to the dino who live in the Samson gives Lois this necklace.
Radioactive crown jewels from the Ultra Sphinx.
Yep. And they're like, oh, you're fine. You know, Samson and Atlas are in tactical stuff. Saying stuff. Lois is enjoying. Samson pulls, he knows, dead. Goes newspaper. And says, cry. But then they light up. The necklace does, and the Sphinx goes. You find out that Samson and Atlas stole it. Now Superman has to solve unsolvable riddle. And he's two morons stole that. I swear dies one week. We have to will fight Alice House. And so the thing asks Superman, it's up. What happens when stop? Well, Superman pauses. Says, how about surrender? Says, response accept. So then Superman takes Lois, takes Atlas and Samson arm. And basically break.
Yeah.
Which
while whistling.
So like that part. But then, you know, the next part says Greek heroes at Lois party out. See him like in the hospital. We see Lois and Superman leaving. Says, what a party. He says, there's something I've wanted to do since the first day we met. The next shot is wonderful part of Superman and Lois on the moon. And then they're sitting there talking. And Lois is starting to say how powers are failing. Starting, can't see, hear, and Superman takes her home and tucks her in. And I kind of went through that quickly because to me it was a waste of an issue. Because you set it up, she's going to have Superman's powers. The whole episode has been her Superman together. experience stuff together. The whole Samson and Alex. Just a waste of time. Anyone can argue with me, but I'm just, to me.
Well, I mean, that's just a personal, I mean, granted, she went to Sidness. She went to the moon with him, to the center of the earth. She was dead and alive at the same time. I mean, she did a lot of things that she couldn't have done before, but yeah, that's most of the focus was on the Atlas Samson thing. It's definitely understandable.
I mean, they could have done that as different, but I would have heard like experience, because that whole her going to Atlantis, I would have liked to. All right, episode. Now this first very Jimmy artifact. Jimmy's
His name is Lucy.
Yeah. I took it as Lucy.
Yeah.
I want to make sure.
Well, why are you going to put in a Lucy in a Superman story unless you specify it's not Lucy?
That's all.
And she's only on the one page, so.
Interview. This is very big kind of drop. Oh, here. First. And so there's been up.
Dr. Q.
Yeah, like hard. Short experience that body. We're learning a lot about what is actually going on. That. Jimmy Olsen president. I was our help.
Yeah, it's the acronym. It's project, but spelled like an acronym. Period. Each letter.
Put on. That's called the Totem Intelligence. Walk. And we're over top is airman. It break. Jimmy starts. Mark is up. Old fashioned. Clark. Fast mark. 5. I'll have interview. Right. What? Clark. David Jimmy. And the robot, and I don't I've, I've been I've Black Crypto. And it's like, huh? They're talking about did a really great job. Up, pause, uh, and then it's way artistic. Help the word bubble. Out. And the next box, it's moon-based.
Quintum. Yeah, Quintum. Dr. Quintum.
And then I think I'll build like
Right.
and like he's starting to try to show it not only in the word and this gone up. I know what black crypto it part Jim, I'm in Hammond. Then it cuts back to black earth. Flies Jimmy's God. Bust out, fighting all like workers and Jimmy's trying to stop second up fire. That's not right. Saved my life about Luis man on and he started to sound kind of dark.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy's man, I can't at on
You and they point dumb gun at me. A bye-bye hand.
by Superman tries to what? Jimmy and Jack it's pretty Jimmy is what happened there? Him died. No die. Down. Up. Jimmy's pulled. Don't let anybody guys first bring time. You and two are alive. They don't realize Jimmy take it and then back. Hey, salt. Always kind of out. Like anytime. This is what I like. So, Mr. Olson reached the higher annual budget. You don't have. You have limited high-tech project. There was infinity credit. He says, you can't know. No fire. I still have 10 left. I have a couple of. On the last page, art. And talk about Mr. Grimm. Oh, by the way, this issue. I like the love as.
Yeah, and he was willing to risk the doomsday.
I like seeing when instead of like we thought before, what exactly. I like it where Jimmy's young enough, but he's old enough, friends got it.
Yeah. I mean, he's working. Jimmy Olsen is working in like one of the biggest newspapers in the world. I mean, he's young, but he's not like, he's not like a teenager who is working on the ground floor because the ground floor isn't working with Pulitzer Prize and working on the same floor as the editor and all that type of stuff.
I mean, not done. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if you've got, probably 5 to 8 years, maybe.
I feel like when you're in. Yeah, I think. But we're going to put a pin in it. That at the end of 4. Kind of let that soak in forward. All right. I'm actually looking forward to it because it's been so long read that, spoilers, but when we get there, a lot of the stuff that's in here, the movie cut out. And I think that one thing about the movie that I was like shocked, there are certain things in the book and think, what? That's not there. So it's going to be really interesting after the book and then going.
Yeah, they really only pick and choose a few things from the middle issues. I mean, I'm trying to even think when we get back, because so 5, 6, 7, and 8, they just pick and choose little moments,
Mm-hmm.
Like 9 is in there, and even from 10, 11, and 12, they pick and choose some moments, except for, a handful of things that wrap up the story. So, yeah, they cut out quite a bit of this story. Honestly, in my opinion, they should probably go back and remake this like they did the death of Superman, like they did Superman Doomsday.
Mm-hmm.
And like they're doing a part 1 and part 2 of The Long Halloween, like they did a part 1 and part 2 of The Dark Knight Returns, and they need to redo this as a 2-part film and put in some of these grand Silver Age stories.
Yep, you're exactly right. Right.
Well, this was still kind of early on, you know. I mean, not too early. They started in 2007, late 2007, when the first one was released. 2011, early 2011.
Okay.
February.
Yeah, that sounds right. That was right before I got married. I remember. The last time I really remember watching, I think I've seen it one time. Because I watched, because I was working at Blockbuster, and I think I watched this like after. At a video store, and they had like buy 3 get 1 free. They had a huge massive and I was like, you know what, I like it. And that's really what kind of helped kickstart the collection. I had here or there, you know, movies of it. That's when I just started. I bought until that day, and after that started. I'm all.
Oh, I was all about it the first time these movies started coming out. Maybe we'll talk about it on another one, but Superman Doomsday, Batman Gotham Knights.
I had both of those, and I had New Frontier.
New Frontier was the next one.
Like I had all of. I remember at the time. I think I had hit. Then I decided all. But we're gonna put a pin in it now. James now back. And you are all. During that time, go on our book, Twitter, email, KryptonReportPod at email, KryptonReportPod at Twitter, and send us your thoughts on All-Star. We already have discussion started. A lot of people, like I said, have really talked about loving it. Good friend of the show, Kelly, she mentioned how she doesn't characterization of Lois, big Lois Lane fan, and she mentioned how she doesn't like the portrayal of Lois. I find that interesting when doing a point of view of character. Come from issue talk. Lois's denial in Clark Superman. But what are your thoughts? Let us know. And remember,
Look up in the sky.